Salute, salute, Knicks Nation. The streets are buzzing. Welcome in. Live stream action tonight. Glad you could join us. I'm back in my city from the road, visiting family last week, but here we are. Great to be with you tonight. We're going to talk about the Knicks rotation and how Tibbs can get the best out of this squad. Right, we'll do a roundup as well. We'll go through the latest news as well. Right, we're in the quietest part of the off season, but we are going to ramp up our content. Like and subscribe to the channel. If you're new, welcome in. Appreciate you for joining us. We're going to interact with the chat tonight, Q&A. And let's talk about the Knicks rotation and getting the best out of this squad. Are we going to go a 9-man? Is it a 10-man? What do you think? Get your comments in. And like always, we'll shout it out, fam. Here on the streets are buzzing. Glad you could join us for this live stream. And we'll talk about the latest news going around too. There's a little bit happening, but of course it is pretty quiet right now. But shout out to the chat. Shout out Replay Squad. The loyals always up in here. Let's get it. Let's get into it. Now, you know, this squad, man, the anticipation, the hype for this season is so big. But the closer we get to training camp, man, it's just going to be crazy. I'm excited. I don't think I've been this hype for a season, right? You know, since going back to the late 90s. You know, I was a younger person back then. Most of us were really young. But right now, the Knicks squad, you know, has a lot of expectations, and rightfully so, right? Philly's definitely armed up. Boston's the team to beat out east, but things have never been as wide open, I think, recently, right? And the Knicks can really get out of the east, in my opinion. But what we do with our rotation and managing this squad could be the difference, right? We talked about the center position, guys, the rotation with the big man spot, and Leon Rose is definitely, you know, looking at ways to improve that and upgrade. Obviously, we talked about last episode, you know, the workouts. They worked out Omer Yurtseven, and I decided not to sign him. Or there's reports also saying that he wasn't, you know, overly keen on the options available. It probably was a training camp invite, so he took a guaranteed deal by reports in Europe. But nonetheless, you know, Leon Rose in the big man spot is going to be key. We'll talk about Mitchell Robinson, his minutes. What are we going to do? Get your comments in. Like I said, we'll make this very interactive like we always do and shout you guys out. But yeah, 8-man, 9-man, what do you think? Right. My thoughts early on, and before we really dive into it, we'll go through a little roundup as well and talk about the latest. But as I said, welcome in chat. Just Knicks in the building. Salute. How you feeling? I'm hyped for this season. How are you feeling? You know, little edgy about the big man situation. No doubt about it. You know, I like what Precious provides. Mitch, when healthy, is a force down low. But yeah, I'm excited to see what Leon Rose does. I think by the trade deadline, he'll definitely have made an upgrade. It's highly unlikely he will do something before the season begins. As I talked about last episode, I do think the Knicks are okay with their current situation in terms of running it into the season first. But keeping Mitch healthy and Mitch to start the season being healthy is going to be really, really critical as well. As I see, Just Nick says, I think Kolek will crack the rotation. Yeah, we'll talk about him and definitely his chances of trying to, you know, I think he'll start situational, but, you know, maybe injuries and all of those things can pop up as the season progresses as well, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up last year's average minutes from every player, and I'm going to give my prediction on minutes and a rotation for this new season coming up. And I look forward to getting into it as well. But we'll talk about the latest, which is pretty quiet at the minute. We had Jericho Sims change his number. So he is now going to be repping, as I bring this up, right, he's going to be repping number 20, formerly Kevin Knox, right? He was 45 and he's going to be 20 now, formerly worn by Dylan Windler. The last New York Knick to wear number 20 now is going to be Jericho Sims. Looking for a key season for Jericho, man, locked in. This lets me know that, he's wanting to go back to his roots. He wore number 20 at Texas, as this guy tweeted out as well. We had 2K25 ratings drop as well. There's some controversy. Julius Randle rated 85. So far, things can change. Those ratings are fluid. But Jalen Brunson topping the charts, coming in for the Knicks at 93. Fire emoji. What do you think, guys? Jalen Brunson, 93, getting his respect from the 2K team, the ratings team. I've always disagreed with a lot of the ratings from 2K. They're quite lazy previously, when it comes to the New York Knicks. But I think this one they cooked, right? 93, big up. I think he was 80. He was 89, I think, last season. Coming in now at 93. What do you guys think? Get your comments in. Quentin Brown, what's up? AP, got the streets buzzing. Welcome in as well. We're just doing a little roundup, and then we'll get into the main topic of tonight's show, which is the rotation minutes. We'll talk about last season's averages, and we'll get your thoughts on what you think should happen, man. 8-man, 9-man rotation, 10-man. We're going to talk about it and dive in. Now, there's still a little bit of buzz around Walker Kessler in Utah. He's not in their long-term plans. Some reports are coming out. So he could, again, resurface. This trade talk could come up again later as the season progresses as well. I've talked about my stance. I think I'm cool with Leon Rose being more patient as well. Remember, he will get more leverage as the season begins, right, in this situation with Walker Kessler, because Utah's are going to want to lose some games. They've got Larry Markkinen locked up now, and they don't want to win too many games because they obviously want to, be in the Cooper Flag sweepstakes as well. So let me know your thoughts. Reports that the Knicks or other teams had offered 2 firsts, and that was rejected by Danny Ainge as well. So I think he should have grabbed that deal. I don't think he's going to get a better deal than that. I mean, who does he think he's dealing with Walker Kessler, right? He's not Anthony Davis, right? I think the stock is going to drop a little bit, as the season goes. But let me know what your thoughts are, right? AP says, imagine Jalen Brunson in NBA Jam. It's funny you say that, man. I was linking up with fam last week. As I said, I was playing some old school NBA Jam with my nephew as well. He loves the game. And I was just thinking to myself, imagine if you could play with the modern day Knicks as well. EA Sports, they did have the license for NBA Jam, but they have changed it up, I think, and there's been no updates. Right. Some East predictions have also come in via ESPN NBA expert panel. NBA New York X account tweeted this out, right? Consensus predictions, the Knicks coming in at number 2. So some more respect coming the Knicks' way, 53 and 29. I predict 55 wins, so that's not too far off. But respect, they've got us in second, slightly ahead of Philly as well. All those things you'll love to see, fam. So there's going to be a lot more predictions and projections coming up. We'll save that for our final show of the off-season right before, opening night, basically. We'll wait for preseason, see things play out. We'll get our usual guests on, an EJ and the fam, and we'll go through our projections and predictions, bold predictions for the season, record, all of those things as well. But this is our first real show of the season preview, and we'll talk about rotations tonight. There was another guy and more free agents still out there. Real Madrid look like they might be looking to get Davis Bertans as well, but he's willing to wait it out to see if there's an NBA offer out there for him as well. He was on the New York Knicks radar, but we'll see. I still feel like the Knicks should spend the 5.2 milli. Let me know your thoughts, guys. I do think that they should spend that because it'll be a piece that they can trade further down into the future. And a lot of you guys agree as well. Yeah, so I was playing the NBA mobile version, fam. NBA Jam Mobile. I had it saved on my phone for a ways back, and they've stopped updating it, fam. But I was able to transfer it onto my new phone. So there we go. John in the building, what's up? Appreciate you. Danny, King Ribby's in the building as well. What's up, guys? John says I predict 55 to 57 as long as we stay healthy. I like it. Yep, my tentative prediction is 55 as well. Fam, let me know your thoughts. And yeah, as always, Leon Rose will cook at the trade deadline as well. He will address, any concerns or any needs for the team as we're about to dive in. But I think that about covers the latest news. Yeah, I'm not going to get into the full 2K ratings, but appreciate the fact that Brunson is 93. That is high, and that is very deserved though, as well, coming off a MVP candidate season. Also, the New York Knicks have an official podcast now, Garden Party. Check it out. It's on YouTube as well. Episode 2 dropped. Bernard King, Ed Burns on it as well. Obviously, we got the Roommates podcast with JB and Hart as well. And also, an interesting name, Bruno Caboclo. I saw this pop up. He's working out for some teams. Now, if you were watching the Olympics, Bruno Caboclo, is a name that you might remember. He was in the NBA with Toronto, and he's bounced around a little bit. He's been out of the NBA, but he's a big, and he is a guy who had a great Olympics as well. So I think he'll get back into the league. So there's reports that he's working out for the Golden State Dubs. Let us know if you are, liking that name. I think the Knicks will continue to leave no stone unturned. They've worked out some guys. We only know of the Yurtseven name, but we'll update you, if anything else comes out. And we've obviously got all our Knicks, some of them probably in New York City at the facility, getting into early summer workouts. Some are obviously probably in their own city working out with their own trainers as well. But here we have a renowned NBA trainer, Chris Brickley, on Instagram, paying props and working out with Tyler Kolek in the lab as well. So let's talk about that and let's get into it, guys. And get your comments in, and we'll have a conversation tonight with the best chat in the biz. Obviously, some of the names still out there: Landry Shamet, Okora, Lonnie Walker, Davis Bertans. Like I said, the Knicks haven't announced any more camp invites yet, but the closer we get to the end of this month now, and that's right, end of this month, we will training camp will begin with media day. Well, close to the end of the month, because we're not in September yet, but we will be in a minute. And then Mook Morris, Bismack Biyombo, there's some other guys out there as well. Danny says they should make a final offer to Ainge for Kessler, maybe tempt him. If he asks for the moon, tell him to have a nice day. Salute, Danny. I like it. I like it a lot. It can't hurt, Maybe the stance has changed a little. I'm sure they keep dialogue, and when Leon Rose sees fit, he will call them back up and see if there's a new deal to be had. But I would like Walker Kessler. Best believe that. Obviously, with the strength of our roster right now, he would fit perfectly. And now, without further ado, the main topic of tonight's show is the New York Knicks rotation, right? Let's keep this interactive, guys. So right now on screen, I've got last season's average on the right in white, the numbers in white. On the left in green, I've got my prediction. These are my personal opinions. You might agree, disagree with some of them. Let me know. We shout it out and we'll talk about it. And this is my initial prediction as well. After preseason and maybe another trade, things can change and it's always fluid. But right now, this is what I'm pretty comfortable with, and we'll go through it. I'll talk about why I think this is ideal in terms of a 9-man rotation to start the season, right? The reason I say 9 is because of the type of roster we have, the talent we have as well. It's different. When you have a team like Utah, you got a team like Washington, I think it's a lot easier to play a 10-man rotation when you're not, championship bound. you're not locked in to compete, right? It's easy to play 10 guys. But if you look at the Knicks' best 9 players, right, and you look at the minute squeeze that we're about to talk about, squeezing in that 10th guy is going to be tricky as well. But obviously on nights of back-to-backs, foul trouble, injuries, all of those things could open the door for a 10-man rotation. But I do think, based off what we've seen off Tibbs, based on looking at these players and the starting 5 specifically, I think a 9-man rotation to start is more than likely what we're going to see. But again, let me know what you think and talk about it. But there's a couple guys I'll start with first. A couple guys will actually come in at the same average as they were last season. So those are Juju and JB, right? The 2 leaders of the team offensively. They averaged 35 minutes a night last season. And actually, without even looking at last season's averages, I came to 35 for each of them as well. And I was surprised when I did look. I thought they were a little higher, but I think that comes in at about right. Julius is obviously, Tibbs loves to play him. He's very durable. He likes to play more. So that'll be interesting to see whether he does play more than 35. But specifically with Brunson, obviously last season was a heavy load. He had to carry the team. We've got help now, and we've got weapons to come in now with Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby for a full season, Devo off the bench now. I do think Brunson's minutes, I would be happy if they did go down a little bit, or his usage at least as well. So again, let me know your thoughts. But 2 guys that are going to lose minutes based off last season's averages in the starting 5, those are Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby. They both averaged 34 minutes last season. Obviously, Bridges was on a different team. He was the top dog, so he had to get more reps. OG Anunoby was also on Utah. On the Raptors, and then obviously with the Knicks for those that stretch. But yeah, I've predicted those 2 coming in at 32 minutes, right? I'll be comfortable even reducing OG's minutes even more. Let me know your thoughts. But it's tough because I look at it like he's such a difference maker, and you want him on the court as much as possible, right? But obviously the Knicks might have a lot more blowout wins this season. So that is going to change things up a lot. And that is where I want Tibbs to adjust. If we are up 13 points with 5 minutes left, right, and OG's already played his 29 minutes, then just sit him and let DiVincenzo or let Hart finish the game out, right? Keep him as fresh as possible, right? So he's specifically, along with Mitch, are 2 of the guys that I'm cautiously managing their minutes, not terms of load management, but just trusting my bench more. And like I said, if there's a lot of blowout wins, try to keep his minutes below 30, and Mitch definitely below 30, which we will talk about as well as we get into it. But King Ribby says hit those like buttons. Like and subscribe to the channel. Let's go, King Ribby. Appreciate you. Got the streets buzzing. Like I said, a lot more content coming up now, guys. I was on the road, back home in the studio now, and we're going to be diving deep into the season preview now. There's about a month till training camp. Let the hype ramp up, fam. But let's talk about a little bit now about the center situation, right? The lone guy to see a minutes increase, right, ironically, is Mitchell Robinson. But that's for different reasons, because obviously Mitch was a backup for a large part of last season. So he averaged 25 minutes, right? Once Isaiah got that starting spot, he didn't let go of that. So Mitch averaged 25 for last season, right? But considering he's our starting center now, and there's no doubt about that, Mitchell Robinson is the starting big man. His minutes I've got at 28 as my early prediction, right? Yeah, I would be comfortable once again managing that down a little to 26, 25 minutes. But again, who's going to play center more? That's the conundrum the Knicks are in right now. If you do want to lower Mitch's minutes, and I understand why, who's going to take those minutes up? Is it Precious Achua? Are you comfortable ramping up his minutes, in tough spots against, tough teams, big games? Or if Mitch is fully healthy, do you think that 28 minutes is about right, is about justifiable? Once again, if you're going to get injured, you're going to get injured, right? Playing a guy 25 minutes or versus 28 or 29, I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference, as long as it's not 34 or 38. I think I'm pretty cool with that. But yeah, once I said, ironic that Mitch, in my prediction, is a guy to see a minutes increase. But that's, once again, obviously because he's the starting big man now, and he was the backup for a large part of last season, and the averages reflect that. Now, focusing on the bench, and this is going to be probably the Knicks, second biggest strength of the season, right? Obviously, our biggest strength is our starting five, and I think head-to-head, you see the graphic there down below against Boston. Knicks versus Boston, I think, is going to be so even, and it's going to be nice with our defensive wings, to deploy onto Brown and Tatum. But when we're looking at the bench, I think it's not even up for debate. The New York Knicks bench is better than Boston's bench, and top 3 bench in the league, if not the best bench. But obviously, between the big man situation, I would welcome reinforcements at the center situation, and that's no shade on Precious. It's just, I want to win. I want to win badly as well. But he's proved some people wrong, and he might do it once again. Jericho Sims could have a big year and step up as well. We'll talk about, situationals and their opportunities to maybe crack this rotation. But like I said at the top of the show, I think we'll start with a 9-man, situation, because it's just going to be so tough. It's going to be so tough to allocate more minutes. Who are you going to take minutes away from? All of those things need to be factored in, right? But starting with Deuce McBride, right? You might see, you see a minutes a reduction, decrease from last season. He averaged 19 minutes. I think this season, with obviously DiVincenzo coming off the bench now, if everybody's healthy, I would expect Deuce McBride's averages to go down a little, right? Might not go down by 7 minutes, but we'll see. There's obviously Colette, Cameron Payne in the building. I like those pickups, and I really like Deuce McBride as well. More Deuce McBride, I'm happy about that, right? But just doing the numbers crunch, it is what it is, You got to have Brunson out there for 35 minutes if he's healthy, right? You want to win ball games, and you play your best players. There'll probably be some people that want Brunson's minutes to go down more, 30, 32. I just, I wouldn't be mad at it. I just don't think it's realistic unless it's, once again, blowout wins, maybe some injuries, back-to-backs, things like that. But these are the averages, so I think things will even out. Once again, the green, my predictions are the averages, and the white are last season's averages as well. Bob, what's up? Appreciate you for joining. What's up? Hope everything is good with you. John says between Mitch, Sims, Precious, Anunoby, and maybe Randall against smaller teams, could fill those center minutes. I agree with you. I think it'll be between Mitch, Sims, Precious, and then Anunoby and Randall, or Anunoby or Randall might take up those other 4 minutes as well. If you add up the minutes from Mitchie and Precious, you get to 44, and then there's obviously 4 minutes to play with to go a little small ball, or maybe once again Jericho comes in for for 8 minutes, 5 minutes, depending on how the game goes. But this is all average of how it's going to play out. But that is a bigger change for Deuce McBride. It's tough because he definitely deserves more minutes, right? On a winning team, he's proven that he performs. He's a great 2-way player. He's a player that deserves probably 20 to 23 minutes a night at least. But this is where we're at now. You welcome in another starting player in Mikal Bridges, and obviously a full season of OG and a full season of Randall. things change drastically. But, you know, you got to be ready when your number's called, and that's what it is about being a championship contender. You know, there's always going to be a minutes crunch. But our depth is our strength, and it'll always be next man mentality once again. If we do lose a guy for a minute, knock on wood, we don't. Everyone's healthy. But if guys do go down, you know, I think we'll all be comfortable with who we have available to step up. You know, Deuce has done it before. DiVincenzo started, you know, last season for a lot, stepped up into a bigger role. Hart even stepped up, and so did Precious. So I got no doubt that we'll do it again. Those guys will do it again. Fam, Mez, what's up? Says Knicks interested in Walker Kessler again. I like to hear that. I think that's very realistic. Hopefully the price goes down, fam, and we don't have to give up any more than maybe a first and a situational player, not a rotation player. Let us know your thoughts. John says 9-man rotation is doable. Depends on Tibbs and the matchups. Our bench is top 3 in the league, hands down. Yeah, 100%, man. 9-man, that's my prediction early. Because the main reason I said before, I just think a 10-man rotation with this much talent on the regular, games here and there, of course, you know, you'll see 10 men. That doesn't mean it's a real 10-man rotation. That just means what is the average. And I think Tibbs will look at the 9-man more often than not. You know, and we're about to hit on DiVincenzo, and that's one of the biggest reasons why doing the 10-man is tough. Because a lot of these guys are versatile guys. They can play multiple positions. You know, they can play up, they can play down in size, and that's great too. Question from Bob. Want to ask, why doesn't anyone believe in Sims making the big leap as the backup center? We see Deuce step up and was hurt, and no one expected him to make the leap, but he did. Hart stepped up. Now all love. Why can't we just give Sims a chance? Says Bob in the chat. Great question. I just think recency bias. I think some fans feel like they've seen enough from Jericho. He's been trusted in spots, hasn't quite delivered to the expectation of Tibbs. But that doesn't mean that he can't step up. Definitely, I think they guaranteed his deal, and I think that is a confidence booster for Jericho Sims. If you're him, and you have that peace of mind, assurance that your contract is guaranteed for the season, and you can eat, that you're financially a bit more secure. I think now Jericho can focus on the season ahead. He can focus on improvement. Don't forget we brought in Mark Bryant, the big coach. I think he's a guy that has been really respected around the league. He could get the best out of Jericho along with some of the other guys as well. But yeah, Jericho's only 26, so he's not young, but he's not old either. He's probably smack bang in the prime of his career, and he does need to step up though. I think this might be his last chance in New York City. But as I said before on many previous shows, I think the door is wide open, right? If you are a fringe rotation player at the big man's position, the Knicks are probably the best situation to be in, because you got a starting center who might need his minutes managed. You've also got a big man in Mitchell who, isn't the most durable as well. So we might be calling upon Jericho Sims more often than people expect, but we'll have to wait to see. I like Precious, but yeah, it could come down to a camp battle as well, guys, and we'll talk about that towards the end of this show. But yeah, the camp battle could be something to really open Tibbs' eyes as well. He has changed his mind a little at times as well. Especially start to the season. A couple of times, Kemba Walker, he yanked him out. Remember when Evan Fournier started the season and it didn't go so well, and then he put Quentin Grimes in to replace Evan Fournier. So opening night, starting rotations and things could change. Tibbs has done it before. I think that narrative has kind of died a little, that Tibbs won't make adjustments. He will, if we're losing. If a guy's not earning his keep, I think he will be open to switch things up. Especially in practice, if a guy is really, holding it down for us, we'll see. But let's continue on. Buzzer beaters in the building. David M, I see you. Guys, salute. Great to see you. David says, because Deuce showed steady improvement, but Sims has not yet. This is his year to step up. Hopefully that work with Bibby and Bryant pays off. Great to be with you, Buzzer beater. I've been on the road. Like I said, was a little unwell, but here we are. Great to be with you live and direct. With the streets are buzzing. Daniel in the building as well. We're going through my predictions of minutes rotation and why I think a 9-man rotation is ideal. I think on the regular, but back-to-backs and off nights can change things a little. But let's talk about DiVincenzo, because, man, in an alternate world where Mikal Bridges does not come, unequivocally every Knicks fan around the world would agree that Donte DiVincenzo is the starting 2 on this team. There's no doubt about it. If there's no Mikal Bridges, DiVincenzo is our starting 2, and a very, very good one at that. But such is the position we're in, and why I think we're a championship contender now is because we've made an upgrade, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, right? You make upgrades when you can. That's the job that president and a GM needs to do, right? We're not trying to win the back pages. We're trying to win the Larry O'Brien, right? And also, DiVincenzo has contract security, right? One of the reasons people might be okay, no competitive player is going to be happy about losing minutes, but where a player of his stature is going to be okay is if you're on a championship contender and your contractual future is secure, and that is the case with DiVincenzo. So, and also he's part of the the Villanova squad as well, and he knows and appreciates his guys and what we're doing with this project right now. So DiVincenzo comes off the bench. He's going to see a slight reduction in minutes, but not that much. Devo averaged 29 minutes last season, right? And I'm predicting he'll come in at an average of 26 minutes. So he could close games out. If he's raining threes, if he's locking guys down, like I said, I think Tibbs will probably just ride the hot hand. So the minutes might fluctuate, but I think an average of 26 is about where I could see DiVincenzo. It could have dropped a hell of a lot more, but I made sure that it didn't drop too much, because you need him out there on the floor, right? He's arguably a better three-point shooter than Bridges. Right, Bridges gives you a little bit more size and better defense, but Donte DiVincenzo definitely brings the offense. He brings the heavy artillery as well, and that's going to be much needed off our bench. Right, he's going to be the gunner off the bench, so I think he could appreciate that role. He's going to get all the shots up. He's going to be able to run some action. He's going to be able to be a 6th man of the year favorite, maybe a early favorite contender of the 6th man award. If he averages 26 minutes, I think he could easily average 15 points a night, 15 to 16 points a night, get up his 8. Last year he averaged 8 attempts from 3. He could average easily 6 to 8 once again. And what's there not to like? I mean, obviously if there is an injury, he's the 6th man. He's the guy that's going to come in to the starting unit. He could play the 2 or the 3 if there is an injury there, or like I said, if he's clicking and Tibbs just rides the hot hand. We'll see. But let me know your thoughts, guys, on that factor with DiVincenzo. Now, right, he's no doubt the guy whose role has been changed the most, with the acquisition of Bridges. What's up, John says, all our players will have to make sacrifices to win in minutes, to win the championship. Our allegiance to each other and their allegiance to each other will allow us, will not allow us to falter. So yeah, I think the buy-in is really important. You know, DiVincenzo's won in the league before. He's won in college as well. So I think mindset-wise, he's there. He gets it. He's clicked. You know, he's locked in as well. And as long as his minutes don't go down a whole heap, I don't see any worry. I don't see any, I don't see any issue from him and his feelings towards that. Obviously, like I said, no player is going to be happy losing minutes, but I think he's going to be content with playing 25 plus minutes, getting those shots up, getting an opportunity to start or close if there's an injury, and win a championship. I mean, someone's got to do it. Someone's got to come off the bench now. And yeah, I'm really interested to see how Tibbs, chops and changes the lineups and mixes it up, mixes and matches. Obviously, you could play OG with the bench a hell of a lot more as well for that power forward size, and you could shift Josh Hart down a little bit as well, and you could put DiVincenzo into the starting unit as well. Because one thing I really like the look of DiVincenzo in the starting unit is with Julius Randle as well. Julius Randle loves those kick out to the shooters. He loves the kick outs to the corners, and and DiVincenzo's literally the quickest catch and shoot guy, right? He just it doesn't even hit his hands, and he's already in that pull up motion as well. So he's super tough to guard, and like we know, he can get his shot up, man, in a New York minute as well. So great comment from John. Capo, what's up? Says Devo will start when OG is out. Yep, I agree, and it's a great luxury to have, But once again, the contractual situation of Devo, 3 more years of cost-friendly deal as well. One of the best contracts that Leon Rose has ever given out, but also huge props, huge credit, big up to Devo for elevating his game since coming to New York. Because, when he signed for that mid-level, $12.9 million, it was a little underpay, but it was kind of similar to where, his game was at. Obviously the market dictates what you're worth. And, I think he took a slight discount because there's rumors that a bad team was willing to offer him a little bit more, like Detroit, and some of those other teams. But he obviously chose New York City for many reasons, and the Knicks. But that was kind of similar to where his market value was at. If DiVincenzo was a free agent this summer coming up, this summer past, then he definitely would have gotten a Josh Hart kind of deal. 18 per, probably a bad team would have offered him 20, 22, 23 even, quite possibly, to be their starting shooting guard as well. So he is grossly underpaid. And I think he does deserve to be rewarded with, the same minutes or slight reduction, but no reduction in usage as well. So yeah, he will light it up off the bench, and he'll get that start if there's an injury as well. And yeah, Bob echoes the thoughts of Devo, his contributions off the bench. He's a starter that can shoot the 3 playing against other teams' second units. You'll be more efficient and effective with the 3 ball and his D as well. That's a great point, Bob. You are going to be playing against other teams' second string units as well. So look out for more efficiency for DiVincenzo on that. Buzzer Beater says Bet US has got Dante as one of the top contenders for the 6th man. I got to take a look at that, man. Not a huge betting man, but I do like, a safer bet. And that looks like it, could be a good one to get up on, man. Shout out 6th man Dante as well. Because the Knicks are going to get a lot of wins. We're going to get a lot of spotlight. Blowout wins as well. The starters might be resting. DiVincenzo may be closing games out, keeping guys healthy as well. John says Dante off the bench will destroy, and his shooting accuracy will demand playing time, but sacrifices will have to be made throughout the team. Yeah, awesome. I think these guys are really close. The locker room, man, vibes are immaculate, and I don't think there'll be any problem with DiVincenzo. Like I said, that's why I predict 26 minutes. And again, just to conclude with Devo, I think if there was a huge reduction in minutes, then he would have an issue with that. You know, let's say he went from 29 down to like 15 minutes or 12 minutes, right? He would be super hard done by. But with this situation off the bench, one of the main reasons why I've gone with a 9-man rotation, because once again, if you want to go with a 10-man rotation, that's cool. But let me know the reasoning behind it. You know, you got to justify taking minutes away from somebody else, and who would that be? Let me know, right? But the second guy to receive one of the biggest reduction in minutes this season is going to be Josh Hart. And again, a guy who we had to get more from last season. 33 minutes last year, Josh Hart averaged, right, for good reason, right? He was Mr. Fix-It. He was all over the place, playing the 2, playing the 3, playing the 4 some, playing the 4 a lot, actually, having to guard Siakam in the postseason as well. But, I'm comfortable, man, seeing Josh Hart, seeing 24 minutes. I think he's a guy, once again, who hopefully should be more fresh. He could close games out. We know Tibbs loves him and will play him a lot more if there's an injury. You could obviously use that as an opportunity to load manage OG and Randall's minutes a little bit more. Once again, he is approaching 29. I think he's getting closer to 30, is Josh Hart. We can't continue to run him into the ground like last season, when he did have to obviously play a lot more for good reason, but ideally that's not the case anymore. So that is good news to me. Let me know your thoughts, guys. 24 minutes for Josh Hart, right? Not used to seeing Josh Hart and then a number below 30 next to his name, but keep him fresh for the postseason, because again, a fresh Josh Hart coming in, he is going to destroy bench units. He's going to be able to, dominate the glass even more, and gang rebound with the likes of Precious. We know DiVincenzo loves to sky for those bounds as well. And one of the second biggest strength of our team is the bench and the depth. And we'll talk about the situationals who could step up in a minute. But yeah, that's where we're at. Really versatile, could play the 2, 3, and the 4. Same with DiVincenzo, could play the 1, 2, and the 3. Deuce McBride can guard 1s, 2s, some 3s as well with Deuce McBride. So 9-man rotation for me, super versatile, those guys as well. And obviously now, Precious Achiuwa, right? One of the signings this summer where it was a big relief for me, because, it was already, we were a bit, tough with the center situation already, but you bring Precious back and it's like, okay, we've got a fairly reliable backup center now, not a traditional center, but a guy who could do the job, a guy who could rebound, protect the rim some, and play some short roll. We'll see what happens with his jump shot. Maybe, he expands that this summer and he could knock down some mid-range J or some corner 3 balls. That would be nice. But obviously with Mitch playing 28 minutes, I think Precious obviously needs to eat up most of the backup minutes at the 5. There's a 4-minute gap there for maybe Julius or OG to play a little bit. You could easily reduce Mitch's minutes a little, raise Precious's minutes up a little. Anything could happen in that regard. But I do think the Knicks will try to upgrade the center spot, whether it's the starting spot or the backup. I think ideally the organization sees Precious as best at the 4. But I think where we're at right now, for obvious reasons, he needs to be the backup 5, right? I'm okay with it to begin. But again, we've got to see how it plays out. Last season was last season, right? What happens if Precious comes back and he's not the same? What happens if he comes back and he's even better? Things will adjust, accordingly. But he's experienced, and I think Tibbs, by all reports, appreciates Precious. his ruggedness, his competitiveness. Again, he fits the culture, the locker room, family in New York City. He wanted to come back. Nice contract, $6 million for 1 season, but he could be a trade candidate, not because we don't like him, not because the organization doesn't think highly of him, but just from the numbers point of view, from a trade perspective, needing to give up something to get something. I think Precious being on the 1-year deal does make it likely, I think, that he's going to be into some trade talks. But that could change if he is super consistent and playing really well. Just getting to some more comments. Get your comments in, guys. Appreciate you. Replay squad as well. Smash that like button. Let me know in the comment section. Replay squad, your thoughts on the ideal Knicks rotation, closing lineups and all of that. Yep, we've got some versatility. John. Bob says 10-man rotation is used due to less minutes for Mitch Rob, but that means Sims is doing well enough to get 12 to 15, while Mitch is at 20. That's the 10-man and small ball with Precious. Yep, that could happen. I think, Mitch, foul trouble, injuries, durability, all of those things. One thing I'd be a little apprehensive about that is because Mitch playing 20 minutes, you're having to change centers a little bit throughout the game, and that can breed some inconsistency. Guys finding their rhythm, all of those things. But again, I'm not mad at it if Mitch does see a minutes reduction in order to try to keep him the most healthy. I just don't know how much of a difference it'll make between 20, 25, 28, right? If you're going to get injured, you're more than likely going to get injured, right? Unless you're playing 48, it's going to be some kind of freak injury if it is. The thing with Mitch is most of them have been contact injuries. When he broke his hand, when he fell on the ankle, when Joel Embiid pulled his ankle down, all those things. But, firstly, you just got to start by saying, pray for health, because, Mitch is so important to this team as currently constructed. But, Leon Rose, man, he is on a mission to win the chip with this squad, and I think he will pull out all the stops, right? There might be an upgrade coming, right? I won't be shocked in the least. We'll see. David M says, CT, do you think Precious should start over Mitch so we could preserve Mitch for the playoffs? I don't think that's the best course. There's good rationale behind it. I just don't think that's something that the Knicks would be likely to do. I think Mitch, deserves the starting spot for the reason I just said before. If you could, play him, below 28 minutes, that should be enough to keep him healthy. If that isn't enough to keep him healthy, then he's just not durable enough. I'm sorry to say, but there's only so much coddling and load managing you can do before you just got to pull the pin and say that a player just isn't durable enough for you. But obviously, like I said, it's a fresh start, fresh season ahead, clean slate. This could be his best year of health, hopefully. Coach, salute. What's up? Glad to see you in here. Bing Bong as well. What MLE player is left plays best defense? That's a great question, man. I would say probably Isaac Okoro, but he is restricted as well. So, see, these are some names out here. I like Lonnie Walker. I think he's a solid two-way player. Bismack Biyombo, he's a big man insurance, but you can find those guys throughout the season. I don't think there's any rush to add a Bismack Biyombo because he's going to want a guaranteed veteran minimum, due to his experience. Yurtseven, we went down that course. We didn't find an agreement with him. But yeah, I think it's just going to come down to maybe some workouts. Bruno Caboclo is a name that I just spoke on. He seems to be working out for teams. He's worked out for the Golden State Warriors, fam. I wouldn't mind the Knicks, if they haven't already, working him out, bringing him into training camp. Experienced player. He's been in the NBA, played really well with Brazil in the Paris Olympics that have just passed. Bruno Caboclo, or however you say it. Apologies if I butchered his name, but he's a guy that we should be looking at, man. He's a big frame, broad shoulders. He can bang. I think he might be a guy that could help us out. But let me know your thoughts, guys. Appreciate the questions and the comments as well. Let's get back to the rotation and just sort of wrap up our thoughts on it. And we'll obviously be diving into each player specifically as we continue our season preview. But early on, I think obviously the Knicks will probably win a hell of a lot more games. There'll be a lot more comfortable wins. Well, that's not trying to sound arrogant. That's not trying to sound cocky. But, the Knicks won 50 games. We were banged up. We didn't have Julius for most of the season. We didn't have OG for most of the season. You bring in Mikal Bridges. You push DiVincenzo and Hart back to the bench. Another year of Deuce McBride growth. All the reasons to assume that the New York Knicks are going to win 54, 55 plus wins. Some 60. People saying salute. We'll give our predictions. But with these blowouts, the Knicks will have an opportunity to play situationals, obviously, in camp battles as well. So just touching on that, I think Kolek will, the Knicks can be patient with him, right? He's 23. I think he's more ready than the people think, or some people think, in terms of running the show. I think when you're 23, your game is quite mature. Obviously, Cameron Payne is here as well, vet experience. He's here to push. He's here to push Deuce McBride and Kolek. He could win minutes as well if there's an injury. And once again, third string depth for a championship kind of team is important because there will be opportunities as the season goes. And that's something we didn't have last season, Who were our third string situational guys? It was Diakite, Shake Milton. It was Daquan Jeffries, Dwayne Washington, and guys that Tibbs wasn't willing to play, wasn't willing to trust. But this time's different, right? Keita Bates-Diop could be a guy that Tibbs really likes because he drafted him back in Minnesota. I know he likes him, but he could be a guy that Tibbs likes for this squad in terms of integrating him. Like you guys said, Bob, in the chat, Jericho Sims could be poised for a big year. Kevin McCullough, he's a 23-year-old rook as well, but he's got seasoning in college. He's a dog in terms of competitor and a player that plays defense as well. So, opportunities will pop up most likely. But look, we all have a tendency to really, love our squad and fall in love with end of the bench guys. But more so this year, more than any recently, these 9 men are going to carry us to a championship if we win a championship. It's not going to be the situationals, right? You want to pray for good health so that these 9 guys, potential 9-man rotation, they're going to be the guys to lead you to the championship, right? And they are a very, very good, high-quality level of talent of those 9 guys, right? Yes, the weakest part of the roster is the big man spot, and I don't think this will be the roster that finishes the season. I said that before. I don't think that's a hot take. I think Leon Rose will make some kind of move for the big man situation. And that might mean that Mitch and Precious are still here. It might mean someone else is traded to provide more depth with that situation. But let me know, guys, who is the biggest chance to sneak, to creep into the rotation? right? Due to an injury, or it could be, he goes with a 10-man in a back-to-back. Who could be the 10th guy? Who is most likely that you think could come in, right? It could be Payne, or it could be Kolek, and then you squeeze Deuce and everyone else up a position. That could be realistic. It could be Keita Bates-Diop slides into the 4, Josh Hart back to the 3, and one of the starters just doesn't play as much. It could be Precious playing some minutes at the 4, or next to Sims, or next to Mitch and Randall. That's quite reasonable. I think the most likely could be Keita Bates-Diop, because he's long and he's definitely suited to the power forward spot. Josh Hart isn't. He could be a chance, but these are sort of the things that we'll get more feel towards after the postseason, after the preseason. Sorry, obviously these preseason games are going to be important. To see the squad and see the squad line up as well. We've got these key dates, and we're going to look at it right now. But yeah, that is an opportunity for the Knicks to, and in the camp battles, to get a closer look. But we'll be playing Charlotte up first in the preseason, Brandon Miller and LaMelo. We'll be looking at the rookies against Washington in the second game, the third game against tougher opponents and a tougher competition. With that, Buzzer Beater says, where does Kolek fit in this minute scenario? So I think he'll be out of the rotation to start, fam. I think he'll be situational, but he'll be one of the first options situationally if he's doing well in practice. If he looks like he looks more comfortable in preseason, like I just said, I think Tibbs will go off that. I think with Tibbs, first impressions count. First impressions are important. If he looks good in preseason minutes and he looks like he can hang right away against NBA guys, I think Tibbs will be more likely to open the door for that. But I just can't see these minutes changing drastically. Right? Not to say that my predictions are perfect, because they're not. Right? Anything can happen. But I'll be surprised if things change drastically. Deuce McBride going from 19 minutes last season down to 12 is, it's harsh. It's tough on him, right? But again, I don't want to play Brunson any less than 35, because you want to play your best players and you want to win. He's an MVP candidate, right? What level of player that's Jalen Brunson wants to play less than 35? Right. There's going to be all this talk like keep him fresh for the playoffs and all of that. That's fine, but playing 35 minutes, that's already 13 minutes that he's not on the floor. That's plenty. That's enough. I think that's enough rest. Obviously, if it's like I said, in the fourth quarter and there's 6 minutes to go and we're up by 22, no need to bring Brunson back in the ball game. 7 minutes, 6 minutes left, we're up by 22. Let Deuce McBride close the game out. Let Cameron Payne come on and sit Brunson. But if the game is in the balance and it's a close ball game, then Brunson's obviously going to come back into the ball game, and close things out. David says, I keep forgetting Keita Bates-Diop is on this team. Yeah, fam, that's it. Like, he's an underrated piece to this. AP says Jake Toppin could be the guy. Just kidding. Hopefully Jake Toppin has a big year. Rooting for him. He'll be featuring in Westchester a lot. We'll see. Bing Bong says rumors with Scap. He wanted a fully guaranteed contract, but Knicks couldn't offer him that, so he is leaving. Appreciate that comment. Yeah, Scap and Sev I talked about a lot in the last few shows. He's a guy who I feel like deserved a training camp spot. However, you know, where things sit right now, yeah, like you said, he might be looking for more guarantees. And basically, to sum things up, all of the things that it's easier to do when you're a bad team, like Portland, Utah, Washington, it's so easy to play 10 men, 11 men, because the season's really of no consequence. You know, you're trying to develop players. But why I think the Knicks will probably go with a 9-man rotation, and Tibbs will probably even reduce it, if he can, to an 8-man in the playoffs. He might keep it at 9, is because those 8-9 players we have are just so good, and it's tough to take any more minutes away from them as it is, right? Julius is not going to want to play any less than 35. Neither is Brunson. OG Anunoby, 32. You could take that down to maybe 28, maybe 27. I'm sure he'll be okay with that as long as he's getting, you know, enough shots and he's getting, you know, into the offense a bit, you know, to keep him more fresh, keep him more durable as well. But yeah, I like our third string depth, but those guys are just going to have to bide their time, you know. I don't think they're going to be featuring too much early on. Maybe the bigs are more likely with Sims, Bates-Diop, Hukpority. Those are the guys whose number might be called right away if there's foul trouble or injuries. Right? I'm not confident that Tibbs is going to play small ball with Randall and OG a lot. He might do it for small stretches, but I'll be surprised if he does it a lot, because Tibbs loves the big man. He loves the size and he loves the rebounding, you know, and all of those things. So that is something to really look out for as well. AP says, rest in peace, Sid Vicious. Yeah, wrestling fans as well. Lost a good one. Rest in peace to him. Condolences to the family and friends. John says Hukpority probably can help this year. He's 7 feet tall, although he's a rookie. We need to see him. Yeah, definitely. You know, he's a guy who's a little bit more ready to eat up some minutes. You know, Sam Vecini, who does great work with The Athletic and covering the draft as well. Sam actually lives in Australia, same city as me. You know, we both had a look at Ariel Hukpority up close, where he played his professional ball, and we got to see him. You know, he's had pro experience. I don't think Hukpority is going to come in looking like, you know, a raw traditional rookie who's 19 or 20. Hukpority's 22, and he's been playing pro for multiple years. So, in terms of his game, he should be ready to contribute age-wise. It's just going to be up to whether or not he's up to it. You know, whether his game is up to it in camp and in pre-season. I think he'll have a chance to prove it. Yeah, Bing Bong also says Kolek has to earn it to get minutes. Yep, I think he's a long-term future piece, and Kolek I could see on this team for over a decade. But with Deuce McBride here, Bridges can run some action off the bench, Devo as well. I think we're stocked, man. We're loaded. Salute Johnny, CT, what's up? Salute. Tibbs' rotation will depend on the Kolek integration, says Johnny. Yeah, appreciate your comment on that. Yeah, I think Kolek will be a Tibbs favourite early, fan favourite. I think pre-season is going to be a great chance. I've said this before, guys, but I don't want Brunson playing, you know, many minutes at all in the first 2 preseason games, right? What do we need to see from Jalen Brunson in preseason other than just, you know, get the rust off, you know, and use the reps as cardio, you know, to get his feet wet. That's it. So the first 2 games are against Charlotte and Washington. I would expect Brunson to play no more than 10 to 12, 15 minutes. First quarter, second quarter a little bit, straight to the bench, fam. And we don't see you for the rest of the ball game. That's where you can get the campaigns and the Koleks, your Hukporities, Bates-Diop. And usually both sides are in unison. They both put their bench squads in to close the first 2 preseason games out, and we'll get extended garbage time for those, and we'll get an opportunity to see. You know, we might see Huckporty and Sims go up against second overall draft pick Alexander Sarr in that one. That'll be cool. And then minutes might ramp up a little in the second game. In the third game, basically it's going to be third to last. I think Brunson will be playing, you know, close to full minutes in that one. And then the final two will be back against Charlotte and Washington again. But one of the main reasons you've definitely got to, you know, get those guys up to speed real quick is because the start of the season, man, the start of the season it's going to start hot, right? No doubt about it. Boston away, Indiana, Cleveland at home, Miami away as well. 4 of our biggest rivals in the first 4 games as well. So that's why by the third preseason game, you know, it's going to be a full dress rehearsal, basically, and you know, get guys ready to go, right? But you know, they will be ready, no doubt about it. But yeah, we want to spoil the party, get off to a great start, get that momentum rolling, beat our biggest rivals, and you know, and the streets will be buzzing, right? In the best sense, fam. We could talk about this for hours, and like I said, we'll be buzzing with more content more often now as the training camp previews are starting, and the preseason action is going to be coming up with Media Day. I'll be back live in a few days. If there's breaking news, we'll be on sooner, but we'll continue talking about it. We'll be diving in to player versus player now as well. But this has been fun talking about the Knicks minutes allocation and the rotation, guys. With you all, the best chat in the biz. Like and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Appreciate you. And join our family. Our live streams are interactive. We shout you guys out. Yeah, we're the best fan base out here. Guys, many blessings. Salute to you. And let us know your thoughts on this and the season coming up. Right, I think the Knicks will fill one more roster spot. The $5.2 million exception is there. I think they're doing their due diligence. You know, they're working guys out and all of that. But yeah, we've had some great suggestions. Buzzerbeater also said, you know, we'll do a show talking about ranking teams in tiers for the upcoming season and where I think they will finish based on expectations as well. So we can do that. I've got my power rankings out. We could do, you know, S, A, B, C, and D tiers of teams for the upcoming season as well, right? One thing that can't be lost on this season is the draft class is super good. So teams by the trade deadline, if they're not in the mix to be a playoff team, they will blow it up. Fam, they will switch and flip things up real quick. And that's where Leon Rose could pounce on a bargain. And that's what I think he will be looking to do. But for right now, if Mitch is healthy, Precious is coming in as the backup healthy, and we've got 2 young centers, you know, as insurance, and as well as some small ball options, I think we're okay to start the season, right? But things will become really clear early if, you know, things need to be changed, if things need to be upgraded earlier. But with that said, man, peace out, everyone. See you soon.